Good morning, guys. Okay, so are we needing to prepare for the next leg up for Bitcoin? And I'm going to be sharing some reasons why you need to be bullish. Let's quickly have a recap of what happened last week. I said, while this was still in the channel, the hope was that demand was going to hold for Bitcoin and we're going to push into some new all-time highs. What happened was we started taking too much time. And I warned you guys, pointing out that if we fail to stay above this axis, 114 and lower becomes a reality. And that is exactly what played out. So as frustrating as this was, on the flip side, on the altcoins, it did give us some really good discounts and is moving price into buying the dip targets for us. So if you're interested in finding out more where I'm going to be buying some of these alts like Ethereum, like Solana, AVAX is right where I bought it the last time round. Those kind of things, you know what to do. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. And if you're new to the channel, say hi. I would love to say, love to meet you. Hello, Dean. Hello, Liam. And yeah, and in the end, I'm also going to be looking at a hot new alt that I think we might need to put our attention on. Okay, so there we go. Let's get into this real quick. Okay, guys. So from a legacy point of view, last week, we had non-farm unemployment rates and the non-farm payrolls and all that information. And that put a lot of pressure on Powell and subsequently on the rates expectations for September. Now, we all know that we want September. The market wanted the rates to be reduced on September. So at this stage, with those figures coming in, the expectation is that the funds rate will be reduced by at least 25 basis points. Now, this is an extremely bullish signal for us because historically, when the Fed pivots, meaning instead of keeping the rates high or flat and starts reducing the interest rates, that is a signal that the stock market starts rallying. Now, you can see from all the historical Fed pivots, after that, the stock market sees a little bit of a rally. And then later on, a honeymoon turns into a hangover. Then we get a recession. So where we're at now, we're sitting in a situation where the Fed pivot is possibly occurring, which means that our altcoins could be in for their last final leg to the upside. So if we look at our Bitcoin large time frame chart, where we try and time when the bull market top is going to be, it's coinciding with at least around October this year. And it means that if we do get this Fed pivot, we could see around October, November this year, Bitcoin pushing into further all-time highs. And hopefully at that stage, the altcoins really outperforming Bitcoin. Okay, so that's a really good sign for us. Now, if you look at the Dixie chart by itself to try and see what happens there, we know that the Bitcoin and the Dixie has got a cross correlation to them historically. So if the Dixie drops, oh, why is not deleting the lines? Come on, what's still wrong with you today? Okay, there we go. It's catching up. So if the Dixie drops, Bitcoin pumps and vice versa. It seems like my trading view is extremely slow. There we go. It's catching up now. There we go. Okay, so the Dixie at this stage needs to be trending down. Why is this still? Okay, maybe I just needed to switch to the right time frame. I do apologize. This is what happens when you do these things live. Okay, so Dixie has now pumped, which gave Bitcoin a little bit of a fit, a hissy fit, pushed it back down to 110K. And this is ultimately a really good sign because we are rejecting at resistance. So the argument was at this stage it was support. There we had it as support. There we had it as support. Okay. And all these support levels failed eventually. We turned it into resistance and we've now tested it. So the room for the Dixie to go down is really good. Okay. When the Dixie goes down, Bitcoin pumps. And this was the last bear market. And this is Bitcoin at 115K. And the Dixie has predominantly been trending down. So the argument is that long-standing, maybe Trump broke America with the tariffs, a long-standing, bearish trending Dixie could yield an insanely positive Bitcoin over the next 4 or 8 or even 10 years. I mean, you're looking at 2033, thereabout. This is the scale of this chart. So there is really long-term bullish upside for us and reasons for us to be bullish. So this is really good. Now, it's also worth noting that the Dixie has been revolving around this axis for forever, okay? And when it started rejecting at the correct supply and we started losing the demand, this is just more reasons for us to plan and prepare for Dixie and a long-term bullish Bitcoin. Okay. Now, something else that we need to have a look at is obviously the Dow Jones and the S&P 500. Why do we want to look at these legacy markets? Simple, because their sentiment will inevitably also add to the institutional adoption for crypto. So if institutions are bullish, more guys, more BlackRock buys, more MicroStrategy Bitcoin buys, more of that will happen, and that will just keep on sucking liquidity out of the market, pumping your bags for you. Okay. And if we start looking at the 4-hour time frame with those, the last or the recent retrace that we've experienced has given them hidden bullish divergence on the Dow Jones as well as the S&P 500. Okay. Prices making a higher low, the RSI is making a lower low. And they also, over the weekend, some of them have had gaps that needs to get filled. Okay, so there is enough reason for this to be then bullish as well for continuation to the upside. Looking at the total market caps, this is now the total two, where we take away Bitcoin and Ethereum to try and look at where our alts are going to be. We've had a critical area where the market was holding on support in the previous bull cycle, sold off, okay, and we have now reclaimed and tested that. So this is yet again the flush or the dip that almost is setting us up for the next leg to the upside, because if we can reclaim critical areas and turn that back into support, this was resistance just the other day, turn it back into support. This is really a good thing for us and good sign for us. So keep an eye on the total too. As long as we start migrating up in a fashion like this, this is really bullish. And if we can regain or reclaim the axis, this is when the alts really soar and perform really well. The same then plays out with Bitcoin dominance. When we look at Bitcoin dominance, this is then also a nice correlation for how the alts perform over Bitcoin. There still may be a little bit of a delay. So if you feel like you didn't buy the dip with the alts over the weekend, you haven't missed out just yet. And here's the reason why. If we look at the hidden, if we look for hidden bearish divergence, this is something that we need in order for this dominance to really start trending bearish and start giving us this. What needs to happen is we need to get hidden bearish divergence. So we had strong bearish divergence on the dominance. We fell below the pivot. We lost that support. Okay, sold off, made a lower low. So we deleted hidden bullish divergence. And now the dominance will try and reclaim. Bitcoin will try and steal everybody's thunder again, especially after a big flush like this, because people have been burned on the alts too many times. So it's just common sense that there will be a little bit of a reluctancy to just ape into these coins, because of past performances. Okay, so this means I want to see this RSI go at least above that level there, around 56, 57 there. And it means that the dominance could still take a little bit of time. And it means that our alts could still take a little bit of time before they start moving. Okay. And it's not a bad thing, guys. It's a really good thing, because as those double bottoms on the alts could potentially then still give us really good entries. Okay. Then what else do we have to be bullish on? Okay. When we look at Bitcoin and we look at the CME gaps, now we know statistically how this works. CME gaps get filled on Mondays most of the times. And then if it doesn't happen on the Monday, it's normally within the next week. So this is now the CME on the daily time frame. And most people will now start saying, well, but look at that. There's a little bit of a gap there. So there might be that second little dip to the bottom. But if you switch this to a 4-hour time frame, it changes the picture completely. And that's why it is so important that you understand what CME gaps we need to be looking at. Okay. CME gaps that occur over weekends are the ones that we need to consider as important. And this has now been filled. So the trend is up. The CME has been filled. The argument is now that we need to start looking upwards again. Okay. And that's yet again another bullish signal. Now, if we also look at this 4-hour time frame and we start looking at where the RSI is in relation to the previous lows, you can see that yet again there is hidden bullish divergence. So the RSI is making a lower low on the demand that created the pump. So the best way to try and visually explain this to everybody, say that maybe that is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And last week I had the 4 drawn there. Now, guys, it is so hard with any of these prediction theories. Anything, Elliott wave, Wyckoff, you're trying to predict. And only after the move is played out, that's when the prediction can be locked in. So you have to have leeway for if it doesn't fail. Hence the fact that we had warning signals saying, hey, if we lose critical levels, we're going to go visit these lows. And yes, now we can still count all the necessarily bearish waves if we want to try and get us there. You can always find the argument for whatever narrative you want to sell if you use technical analysis wrong, or for the wrong reasons. I try and just take things level by level. We stayed above critical support, and as long as we do, this remains bullish. And at the moment, this does look bullish for us. Okay, so the CME is really looking bullish as well. Now, what happened with Bitcoin over the weekend? Let's quickly go to the BTC chart. Now, I've been saying this for forever with you guys. When we look at when is a really good time to buy Bitcoin, and when is a really good bottom? A really good bottom signal typically is the funding rate. So when the Bitcoin funding rate switches red or negative, that usually gives us a really good move. So if you think about there, you were at 101,000. It went all the way up to 110,000. That was a 10% increase in Bitcoin's price. If you look at it over there, what you have there, funding rate switching negative 89, and it kept on going until 110, until the funding rate was high. And I've been patient with you guys saying that although we do have this could be the funding rate still high. This could be just part of more continuation. High funding rate's not necessarily bad, but buying the dips, if you want to try and get in on swing longs, you need a low funding rate. And over the weekend with the sell-off that we had, a lot of people just gave up again. It's going to be bad. And we had the first signs of a negative funding rate, a little bit of red there at the bottom, a little bit of red there at the bottom. Now, we didn't have that same amount of flush where things just, there's red for days in some of these lows, but it's still a negative funding rate nevertheless. So I'm asking myself the question, even if we do go and make a lower low, the strong bullish divergence that should occur around that area means that this is a really good time to start looking at and loading up on some of our buys, our long-term buys. Bitcoin is giving us a long-term buy. Now, another reason to be bullish is simple. If you look at Bitcoin from a purely support resistance level point, okay, now we can delete this note. It's no longer relevant to what we're trying to explain. So if we look at like this, when the market moves, it moves up in steps. So it will always step up and test the previous area of resistance. It will find a way to get to those levels. And what we did now is exactly just that. So we're holding on to support. So it means 110K, anything you do regarding buying the dip at this stage is a really good thing until what happens? Until you fall below 110K. Because only then you need to start questioning whether we're still bullish. So now is the cheapest time, if you think about this, to inquire, to add risk onto your portfolio, okay? Because this is the only amount of risk that you need to carry. Fall below that, it's over. Then okay, things are going to go back down to maybe 90. These gaps are going to get filled, and stuff is going to go get horrible. Now, the point and figure chart is another nice tool that we can use to kind of define what needs to happen. I use this as a destination map. And I always say to you guys, when you look at the point and figure, when it has these little imbalances, price will go and revisit them like it did. We never know what is going to happen next, which way. So think of it as a destination map, not a road map. And it means that we've got a new gap sitting right there. And this move could potentially go and test 13K again today. Maybe the New York Open will see price wick down to these levels and slowly migrate back into this gap over here at minimum. Because there is, even if you want to be bearish and say we need to go lower, there needs to be more of a flush. There's unfinished business living at around $118,000 at BTC, which you then can use these buys to maybe secure some profit, ladder out maybe at, if you've got a dodgy altcoin that's maybe not performing really well. We'll look at some dodgy altcoins at the moment, and I'll use them as a, as an example of what you should do or could do. Remember, not financial advice. I'm purely just trading for a living, sharing my thoughts with you guys, okay? And trying to arm you with as much knowledge as possible so that you can go and look at your own portfolio and make, a decent decision or informed decision. So if we look at this, there's still a reason for the market to move back up to $116,000. So I've got my longs. I've still got BD shorts. I've been shorting this on the way down, trying to see, what the extent will be. And yes, there is crazy targets down under, but there's a lot of support between that ranges. So before I start saying 100 and all these things, shit needs to go wrong first before that happens. And where we're at right now, we're in a really good spot. Okay. Now I said a little bit earlier, there might be a lower low. So if you look at this 110K gap there on the visible volume range profile, okay, or visible range VPVR. There we go. Let's just keep it simple. There's still a little bit of a liquidity pocket there, and normally price moves on once it's filled all these areas. So we could see Bitcoin go and make a lower low to create strong bullish divergence, because we don't have that just yet. So don't just blindly leverage yourself into positions now, meaning we could see this play out. So this is where I'm my strong bullish divergence prediction. So we could see the market still do this and then only move up. So it's not just not an excuse to just blindly go 10x or 100x long now, and it's going to be okay. You might get wrecked in this kind of environment. And the funding rate is a really good example of that, because it can give you just these little dips and then go, or it could be double bottoms and it could be lower lows and there could be shakeouts. So just be mindful of it. Nothing in the market is guaranteed, guys. That's the one guarantee. Okay. Now, a little bit of a larger positive outlook, as I always say. Remember that we need to look at this 100 and this November, December area as a really good take profit. But now there's a month statistic as well that comes with that. And I'm just going to switch to Bitcoin Bitfinex chart, because there's got a lot of data. And then I'm going to use the buddy of the Trendscope Indicator. Now you guys can load this indicator. It's for free. I created that. And then you can go to my Discord and you can click on the how to use tools channel in there. And when you're there, everything that you would need to know about the Trendscope Indicator and to set it up that it looks exactly like mine is in there. So you don't have any hurdles of getting your charts to look like mine. Okay. So if we use that setup, I've just got everything preloaded already. It loads up, it gives you the month gain success rate, and it gives you statistically what is the expectation for August since 2015, Bitcoin trading on Bitfinex. Okay, so there's a lot of data like that. I could potentially use the BLX chart. Let's maybe see how that will look. That's all the Bitcoin data. Oh, BLX. That's all the Bitcoin data since forever. It's probably, there's not enough space. It's going to look exactly the same. But there you have it, August. So statistically, August has had 1, 2, 3 bear months where there was negative closing. So monthly candle ended up being in drawdown. All the other months, it's been really green. And this is where I'm saying that October is potentially where it ends. Because October is not a really green month. Now, you've got really good Novembers as well. So it could be that the market tops out in November. So statistically, there's a lot of reasons for us to be bullish in the market, especially because we started August now off with a massive retrace, okay? And if you look at the pivotal points, this is now the high, lows, and the expectations. We really hit the discount level almost in this month, leading up to, trying to push a higher high. So this is a really good sign for us. We're in a really good space in the market. Okay, there you have it. So this is all the bullish reasons that I can think of for us to, in Bitcoin to remain bullish. But now we want to be talking about our alts. And altcoins like Ethereum and these things, they're important. So let's just clean up the chart. Let's quickly have a look at Ethereum real quick. Now, I said earlier, I think some of the alts are not going to move just yet. They flustered now. This dump, Ethereum just hurt a hell of a lot of people. It went down 15%. It's bad. It's hurtful. So if we look at Ethereum to the BTC pairing, this is one of the reasons why I think it's going to take a little bit of time. So I've drawn it up ETH to the BTC pairing. You can see that we do have hidden bullish divergence, but the hidden bullish divergence predictor, where we typically find the bounce, okay, is living there. So it could mean that Bitcoin first rallies strong again. Because remember, ETH can go up in value, but Bitcoin will maybe go up in value more. And that will bring this chart down to get it into this range before you'll see a crazy ETH rally again. Okay, so there is a little bit of sign that it's not quite there yet. Okay, taking this then to the total 2 chart. Just as a reminder, we do have this area here, the support range that I just highlighted out to you guys as a really good thing. But remember, all the success is going to give us hidden bullish divergence, hidden bearish divergence real quick, because there's the higher high to delete the hidden bearish divergence for the total. So it could mean, and it could be a really positive sign, that if we do find that this goes and double tests the support area, this divergence has played out. And then when we do go up again, there isn't any resistance fighting us. So then we end up breaking the trend and then starting to move to the upside again. So the alts might be delayed for these reasons, guys. So it means buying these dips means that you're going to have to be patient to wait for the outcome. And I know us. I know myself. When I buy something, I want to see profit tomorrow. It's just the nature of things. Okay. Okay, now let's chart some alts. Over to the comments real quick. I just quickly want to see where you guys are at. So good morning, Peter. Thanks for always commenting on the videos. Appreciate you watching, my friend. Trader T back. Hello. Nice to have you here. Let's see what else we have. Hello, Stanko. Good day. And then Liam saying he's a bit late. Haven't made a higher high. Would we wait for that before we go long? Yes, buddy. I think I did the Bitcoin analysis and your question justice already. I learned the hard way that impatience can be very expensive. It can be, my friend. It's one of those things that can really hit you. Okay, how about showing? Yes. Nudge that like button. Come on. How many likes do we have, Peter? Let's see. How many likes do we have? Before I move on, let's quickly see. He's getting the data. He'll let me know now. There we go. It's popping in. 15. Oh, come on, guys. 200 people watching, 15 likes. We need to move that. Nudge that button for me. Okay. 50 people on YouTube, all the others on my Twitter pages, but come on. Give me a little bit more likes. Right. Okay, guys, let's get onto the charts while that happens. I'll Just a kind reminder, guys, video is brought to you by Bybit. Now, if you want to be participating in my Discord, any of these partner roles, my Bybit role, Blowfin, or Primex BT role, gives you the opportunity to actually chat and communicate and get access to the charts I share there and so forth. And so if you want to do that, all you need to do is just support the channel, support the content that supports you, and that unlocks that. In addition to this, signing up with my link, there's always deposit bonuses and certain deals that comes with that. You can go and read up on that. What it does is it gives you access to the buddy indicator. The buddy indicator is literally there to help you know what I would do when you're trading and I may be not live, or and so forth. So it gives you suggestions of what is happening in the market. It tells you when to start becoming bullish or when to be bearish. So when the candles turn blue, you trade the blue setups. When the candles turn red, you trade orange, or you trade the bearish setups. It's as simple as that. And if you could follow just the candle colors in that sense, you would outperform the market already. Wait for the market to give you signs that it's running out of momentum. You take profit, you get back in on the other side when the momentum is there. So it gives you a lot of access, and it is very simple. It acts as a signal service almost. Okay, very simple. You enter between the purple lines and you trade. That would be your entry zone, TP1, TP2, TP3. Now, this instance, it didn't hit, because when the lines are there, that's when the calculation is done. So this is a missed opportunity. It does happen, guys, okay? But yeah, there you have it. So you can switch to your preferred time frame that you want to trade. It is so simple. I won't go lower than the 8-minute, guys. That's the one thing I won't do. You can switch to your preferred time frame, and then you can use the indicator to your advantage. Okay, no other way to get hold of it other than the partner role in the Discord. Okay. Back to the comments. Let's quickly see. Liked. Thanks so much, my friend. I really do appreciate that. Oliver and Mr. Complicated Simpleton back here. Nice to see you guys here. Okay. Let's get some alt charts in there. Okay, so now we have our trading tools if you want to try and get in on the moves. Let's quickly have a look at Ethereum then from a new perspective. So I'm just going to delete some of the old comments so that the screen is a little clearer. And my thoughts for Ethereum is as follows. We're still in this wave, and this could be the beginning of a wave 4 within the 4 to 5 wave, meaning that this was maybe your 1, 2, now this is a 3, 4, and then there's going to be a 5 again. Okay. And that's going to end up the last wave. So Ethereum is still on its way. I still believe that it's going to get that 4,000, that higher high that we need on the larger time frame, but it needs to build some momentum first. So what we need to then just do is just be patient that anywhere between 3,500 and 3 grand is still going to be the area where the buy could happen. Now we could reject below the axis. If Bitcoin needs to go test 110, ETH could do this. So there is still a lot of bearish momentum. Now I know this is a daily candle chart, so let's maybe switch on to a 4-hour. And you can see there, because it's exactly what happens now. Any more upside success is going to drive the RSI and give us hidden bearish divergence. It's just going to stunt the possibility for ETH to regain this. So unless there's some news event or some bullish narrative that drives things parabolic, that we can just run this thing into the limiter, it is fair to assume that ETH is going to at least double bottom or go make a lower low and bounce on this demand. So I will hold off to just try and grab it in here. The alts does have a little bit of a delay to them. Okay. It's just one of those things at this stage. Okay. The same for Solana. If you look at Solana at this stage, we've now gone into this trend support, and we've actually now shaken our demand. You can clearly see we really got scared there. What the market shouldn't do is shouldn't go. A 4 shouldn't go below a 1. Now, nearest makes no difference around these things. These things are organic. So what is a straight line on a tree? They all grow up straight, but they do have a little bit of a leeway. So I would give that little bit of a leeway and say, okay, it is what it is. Okay. but we cannot trade below this. So we're back at bargain basement level discount for Solana. So it's a good time to get in on that. But understand again, any breakout, any upside, unless Solana goes and reclaims this level, we're going to have hidden bearish divergence. And it's the strongest divergence because it's a continuation of trend divergence. You know, as a trader, the golden rule is that you need to trade in harmony with the trend. So I'm sorry if what I'm saying now kind of goes against everything that I just sold you on the bigger picture, how bullish the market is. It doesn't mean that the next 2 days or the next 3 days we could still do this. That doesn't impact the beginning 25 minutes of the stream. It just means that we need to build a base. And the evidence pointed out that the alts needs a little bit of time to kind of just brood up a little bit of momentum. And this is evident on these charts as well. They're going to run into a little bit of a resistance. They're going to probably bounce back later on. We need hidden bullish divergence. It's there. Now we need to have, let's leave that line there, but now we need to have strong bullish divergence on this wave. Because just like if I were to invert this, just like in order for me to call this a top, I need strong bearish divergence. This is now the same way to say that if I want to call this at bottom, I need strong bullish divergence, and I don't have that just yet. Okay, so let the market go, pump a little bit today. We'll probably get this thing back to 180, 175, thereabout, okay? Before the market then tries and hold on to demand or something, or potentially if it rejects from here, make a lower low. So that's the thing with Solana. So prepare for a little bit more. Cardano, same thing, guys. It's already got hidden bearish divergence. It's at resistance areas. So the shakeout is there. Statistically, between 70 and 64 is your hidden, is your wave 4, your best buying opportunity. So it's there. But it doesn't mean that this great buying opportunity can't look like this before it moves. It needs time now. It's not just going to pump tomorrow. Okay. AVAX, let's quickly have a look at AVAX. The same now. We've had a nice move to the upside. We still have, if you just use the Garn rule, 50% of the time that it takes to make the move, the impulse, it will retrace within half that time before we move on. So now we can say our AVAX, there's the one, this is the beginning of the two, and we're trying to build this base. Now, there's a lot going on this chart, I know. So if you're new to the channel, I am the chart artist for reasons. I draw on the charts like crazy. So let's maybe just clean this up so that it does make sense for the more, for the guys that's more technical and they want to be a little bit more precise on their charts. So it's very simple. What else can we remove? Maybe we can remove that note. We can remove those areas there. And I can remove these old Twitter calls, you know, where we wanted to buy, what my game plan is, and so forth. So then it is a little cleaner. There we go. All right. So it did make a higher high. This thing is bullish, okay? But it took us this amount of time to get to this high. So it's fair to assume that there's a little bit more time. So maybe next week, the 14th of August, is when the retrace is going to end. So we do this, then we go. Okay. AVAX for you guys. So give it some time. Okay. Let's see what else we want to look at today. BNB. BNB last week pushed all-time highs. Amazing. And I gave you guys the pivot for the larger time frame divergence. We're sitting on support. So if you're trapped in AVAX, I would rather say BNB would be a better move for now because it's at momentum. It's got bullish momentum. So if you're in a coin that's maybe not performing or a sideways performing coin, I would rather favor BNB. So I won't sell $2 to try and secure profit. I would just switch my horse. So think of it like you're at the horse track and you can literally phone in and say, listen, I don't want my bet to be on Dances with Wolves, whatever the horse name would be. They always got these funny names. And I would rather want something else. Okay. And you can do that. You have the opportunity to do that. Just don't do it recklessly, meaning on emotions and stuff. Use technical analysis. This thing is at support. It's showing strength. I would rather do that with my Solana for that matter. And with Sonic for that matter. So if you're trapped in Sonic, I mean, it is looking good here. It's holding on to this support with dear life. But one more dip for Bitcoin could see this thing sell off really quick. I would rather want to be in BNB selling off than be in Sonic selling off, because this thing can still hurt you plenty. Okay. XRP. XRP is showing you exactly how the other alts. This was already looking like a good buy. Okay. What did it do? It failed to make a higher high, didn't make a hidden bearish divergence, but then it kept on pushing down and it went into the support areas. I gave you guys these levels 2 weeks ago, saying that if it goes, that's going to potentially be as low as it's going to get there. So now we're sitting in a situation where it's going to run into hidden bearish divergence, probably going to create a head and shoulders pattern for the pattern traders. Then do this, then you get above it, and then XRP will start moving. It needs time, guys. Okay. Let's see what else. Some of our bigger performers. Hyperliquid. This was the buy the dip area, but I warned you guys, just like it happened with SUI, just like it happened with HBAR. Once you hit that 50% level, this thing changes and it needs to go get that dip at 20. So we're already now from 45. This was your continue with momentum play. Now you're saying, oh shit, okay, so any upside is going to turn that into resistance and we'll potentially go move down. Hyperliquid now has made a lot of people money, and now there's lazy late money sitting in this thing waiting to get in on the move. And they're not deserving of the move, just like all these others now. There's nothing wrong with what's happening there. It's just going to take them out of the market before it really does give us the gain. So I would move away from something like Hyperliquid, okay? ENA. This is the one. I said to you guys there, get in, get in, get in. And you can see, look at how strong it is performing today already. It's the new Hyperliquid. It's the new one that has momentum. It's like BNB. Move into these ones because they now have the opportunity to go and do what those coins did, okay? They're flying. Their time will also turn into when they're going to start moving into and turning into a dud, okay? SUI. SUI was the strongest performing coin. Everybody loved SUI. Look at what SUI is doing. Okay. So now ENA has got its moment in the sun. SUI doesn't have it. It's going to take time to build between the support ranges. Okay. So I would rather be looking at that. Celestia is one of those, the coins that I said, it's dead. It's dying. It's over. Okay. Not that there's anything wrong with what they're building. I'm talking about price in itself only. It lost critical large time frame support ranges. Okay, there. It can't afford to be below that area. It's rejecting around that range. It's given up. People aren't believing in this coin. Remember, this emotional market cycle, these bull market highs and lows, this gets driven by people overestimating what the value is of something. So now they're underestimating what the value is of this as well. And that's the slow dead end. So let it die. Let it die. When it starts claiming the levels like ENA did, like AERO did, that's our time to pounce on them. So let's have a look at AERO. Sitting at sign of strength, holding the upper end, strong bullish momentum, lower low, higher low on the RSI. It has hidden bearish divergence. It will probably have another test, say 70 cents. Then it's off to the races again. This thing wants to go. It's a strong performer. Okay. And then there's the last one. So if we look at the altcoin index, what we have now is Bitcoin is still performing. Bitcoin had a retrace. So there's about 41 of the top 100 alts performing better than Bitcoin within the last 90 days. Okay, so it's over 90 days. And there's ENA that we've been holding on to and so forth, okay? Bitcoin Cash, and, all these coins that have performed really well. And there's a new kid on the block now that's moved into this list that came out of nowhere. And let's maybe have a look at that coin and look at what. So the coin name, if the chart wants to load, come on. What happened with you? Why are you broken? While this thing is trying to decide what it wants to do, I'll quickly head over to the comments. Let's see what we have going in there. Hello, buddy. Thanks for loading. page unresponsive. Okay, well, it is what it is. At least I can show you the chart. So let me show you the chart. You're going to the races. I like it. Okay, so here's the thing. The coin's name is Meme Core. So it had a launch. It had an insane pump. It's moving up real nicely. So if you look at this from a weekly time frame, there's absolutely nothing that you can really take from this other than that you can say that that is the launch wick. Okay. Let's use the 50% fib. And the argument is from where it's at there, it's maybe going to go to at least 80 cents before there's going to be, perceived long-term downturn there. So there is still a possibility for 50, 60% gainer there. Now, guys, treat it with respect. Don't be, reckless with these buys. But it does have a lot of good momentum. RSI is on the right side for being bullish, and it will probably give strong bearish divergence to keep people out until they buy the top, okay? Like it does with all the other times. As soon as something, RSI moves in this area, people are typically, it's going to come back down, and then it doesn't. So learn from this. When it's there, it's bullish. You know what to do. You know when to really take it serious. When you have divergence, like you had there, and price starts falling below those levels. So let's mark it out. Pivot to pivot. I always say I need to buy a new mouse because my mouse is jumping. But I've grown accustomed to this, so I'll probably never replace my computer mouse. So there we got strong bearish divergence. Simple as that. Between those 2 points on price, what happened? The retrace didn't fall below that pivot. You ignore it, okay? Then we had strong bearish divergence again between there and there. Price tested it, didn't make a higher high, then fell below it. Now you worry because now you've fallen below the thou shall not cross line. It's that pivot. Okay, reclaimed it slightly. Sometimes it tricks you like that, but then it fell below it again, and it's all the way down. That's the strong bearish divergence you need to worry about. Okay, there's always going to be risk, guys. If you enter late on a move, you always have to understand that you will have to face some losses. It is calculated risks. That's the right term that we just want to look at. Okay, so where we're at right now, momentum is strong. We've already created a wave. So what you can do is you can use your fan and just stick to it there. Stick it there. As long as we stay above that white line, you're golden. You want to try and get this to around 80 cents. Okay, that's it. So there's a nice little gainer for us for the week. It's got its own little emotional market cycle. Don't be scared because of the bigger moves that it's going to dump on your ass in that sense. Understand that it could potentially do this, but the momentum is in its favor at this stage. And I would expect it's going to migrate to this area. Okay, that's it. Thanks so much, guys. Requests and stuff, I don't typically do them. If you want, you're more than welcome to head over to the Discord. We can always continue the conversation there in the discussions channel. If you want notes on the stream, there is everything that you would want to know, everything that I discussed. And typically, if there's a serious chart, I will drop it in there. Okay, there you go, guys. Have a lovely day. Thanks so much for joining, and have a great week. I think it's going to be an awesome week. It's going to give us a lot of opportunities to to capitalize on the market. And if you feel like you've maybe missed out and you're sitting on sinking ships, you're sitting on coins, it's not really doing well, don't worry, guys. This was the NEWT play, and it's building momentum again. It's going to have another move to the upside. There's always more opportunities. NEWT, Meme Core, these are new opportunities that's coming our way that we can utilize. So while coins like OP is still finding around these floors and Hype is maybe not performing anymore, don't let this turn negative. Or Sonic is not getting above certain support levels. Don't let this make you negative. Okay, these new coins will give you a little bit of gains while we wait for them to come back. Okay, cheers, guys.